Let me tell you something that might sting a little. Some people in your life are the anchor holding you back, and you're too afraid to cut the rope. You keep explaining, justifying, waiting for them to change, but they won't. And every second you stay connected, you shrink. You dim your light to make others comfortable enough. Cut them off without warning. Not out of hate, but out of love for your future. If someone is draining your energy, your vision, your peace, it's time to decide. Not tomorrow, now. This is your life. Protect it like it matters, because it does. Everything extraordinary begins with a vision. Not just a vague hope or a wishful thought, but a compelling, detailed, emotionally charged picture of the future. That's what separates average lives from legendary ones. The moment you allow yourself to imagine something far beyond your current reality, you start rewiring your belief system. You start expanding the walls of what's possible. People who live mediocre lives aren't less capable. They just stopped thinking big. They let the limits of their past, their environment, or the opinions of others box them in. The truth is, every breakthrough, every fortune, every movement that's ever changed the world started with someone who dared to imagine something no one else could see. Vision is more than an idea. It's the internal engine that powers your actions when motivation fades. It gives your effort direction and your struggle meaning. When you think big, you stop living in reaction mode. You stop chasing comfort and start designing your life with intention. You become the architect instead of the occupant. But here's the catch. Thinking big is uncomfortable. It challenges the small voice in your head that says, who do you think you are? It forces you to confront your insecurities, your past failures, and your fear of looking foolish. And that's why most people don't do it. Not because they can't, but because they're afraid to want something more and not get it. But here's the truth. Without vision, you're just moving in circles. Activity doesn't equal achievement. You can work hard every day and still end up nowhere if you're not aligned with a bigger purpose. Vision pulls you forward when nothing around you gives you a reason to keep going. It's what allows you to endure the grind, to face rejection, to bounce back from failure, because you're not living for just today. You're living for a future you already believe in. That's what wealthy thinkers do. They live in the future and bring it into the present. They make decisions based on where they're going, not where they are. So if you want to think like someone who changes their life, someone who builds something meaningful, it begins with the courage to dream again. Big, bold, unapologetically. You don't have to know how you'll get there yet. The strategy comes after the decision. First, you decide what you want your life to look like. You paint that picture with every detail. You make it so real in your mind that it becomes impossible to ignore. That's where power lives. Not in your current resources, but in the size of your vision. Because once the vision is clear, the energy to create it finds you. The right people show up. The right ideas spark. And suddenly, what once felt impossible becomes your new standard. Big dreams are exciting. They light a fire in your heart and spark your imagination. But if you don't start, that fire turns to frustration. That's where most people fall short. They wait for the perfect time, the perfect plan, the perfect opportunity, and in doing so, they delay their progress by years, sometimes forever. But those who truly achieve don't wait. They start small, not because they lack ambition, but because they understand momentum is more valuable than motivation. One small step taken consistently will always beat a giant leap that's forever postponed. Success isn't about launching big. It's about beginning now and building brick by brick with relentless consistency. When you start small, you take away the pressure of perfection. You remove the weight of needing it all figured out. You give yourself permission to grow, to adjust, and to improve. There's power in small beginnings. Every empire began with one simple move. Every transformation started with a single choice. The people who create real change in their lives understand that their strength is built in the doing, not in the waiting. It's not the fancy ideas or the complicated plans that change lives. It's the simple actions repeated every day with purpose and commitment. Starting small also builds a discipline that grand plans never teach. When you begin with what you have, where you are, you're forced to maximize your current capacity. You become resourceful. You learn to make things work instead of making excuses. You stop blaming your limitations and start using them as training. And that's how character is built. That's how confidence grows. Not from talk, but from doing. Not from hype, but from execution. You start seeing results, even if they're small, and those results reinforce your belief. That belief fuels more action, and the cycle continues. Suddenly, you look back and realize how far you've come. Not from one giant leap, but from thousands of small steps, stacked with purpose. The truth is, if you can't be trusted with small things, you'll never manage big things. Starting small teaches you how to be consistent, how to follow through, how to lead yourself. It teaches you resilience because you'll fail, you'll stumble, and you'll want to quit, but you keep showing up. And that creates something more powerful than any motivational high. It creates identity. You become someone who follows through, someone who honors the process, someone who makes progress even when it's not glamorous. That's how the foundation of a powerful life is laid, not in the spotlight, but in the quiet, disciplined grind. When you start small with a big dream in your heart, you plant a seed of greatness, and that's how extraordinary begins. Most people believe the rich got where they are because they worked harder than everyone else. That's a myth. The reality is, the rich don't necessarily work harder, they work smarter. They understand something most people overlook. Success isn't just about effort. It's about direction, leverage, and strategy. You can work 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, and still be stuck in the same place if your energy isn't focused in the right areas. Wealthy individuals don't hustle blindly. They build systems that multiply their time, their money, and their results. They don't get caught in the trap of doing everything themselves. Instead, they ask better questions. Who can do this better than me? What process can I automate? Where is my time worth the most? These are the questions that shift you from being busy to being effective. Working smarter means knowing the value of your time and protecting it fiercely. It means choosing high-impact tasks over low-value distractions. It means learning how to say no to things that drain your energy, even if they're urgent, and saying yes to things that build your future, even if they're uncomfortable. The rich also think in terms of systems, not tasks. They don't solve problems one at a time. They create solutions that solve problems repeatedly. They build assets. They create value that continues to produce long after the initial effort is made. Whether it's investing, creating content, building businesses, or leading teams, they know how to create leverage. They let their money, their network, and their tools work for them while they focus on the big picture. That's the difference between someone who earns a living and someone who builds wealth. Another critical distinction: the wealthy invest in their minds. They read, they learn, they study, they adapt. They understand that thinking is the most valuable skill of all. If they want a better result, they don't just work more, they elevate their thinking. They seek out mentors. They pay for speed, access, and knowledge because they know that the right insight at the right time can save years of struggle. So if you want to act like the rich, stop glorifying being busy. Shift your mindset from effort to efficiency, from input to outcome. Audit where your time goes. Start thinking about where you can multiply instead of just add. Focus on value creation, not just task completion. You don't win by doing more than others. You win by doing what matters more intelligently. That's how the rich move. That's how they stay ahead. And that's how you start building your life on the same foundation. You can earn a lot of money and still stay broke. That's the hard truth most people don't want to hear. Income doesn't equal wealth. It never has. What separates the financially successful from the financially stuck isn't how much they make, it's how they think about money. The rich don't just focus on making money, they focus on understanding money. They treat financial intelligence like a skill, not a mystery. They know that until you understand how money works, you'll always be working for it instead of making it work for you. While most people are chasing higher salaries or side hustles, the wealthy are looking at cash flow, assets, taxes, risk, and returns. They know the difference between something that feels good in the moment and something that builds long-term value. They ask themselves, how can I use this dollar to create 10 more? Not how fast can I spend it? And that shift changes everything. Because the moment you stop living just for income and start learning how to grow wealth, your choices become more strategic. You're no longer reacting, you're planning. The rich understand that assets are the real game. Not fancy cars or big houses to impress people, but income generating assets that create freedom. They buy things that pay them. They invest in things that grow over time. Whether it's real estate, businesses, intellectual property, or stocks, they focus on putting their money into vehicles that move, that build, that multiply. And the key is they learn, they educate themselves. They don't rely on luck or leave it to chance. They read, they ask, they listen, they test, they track every dollar like it matters, because it does. So they also understand the power of protection, protecting their income through legal structures, understanding taxes, using insurance, and smart planning. While others are focused on how to make quick money, the wealthy are focused on how to keep and grow what they've earned. That's a different level of intelligence. It's not just about hustle, it's about precision. It's about asking, how does this decision impact me a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Financial intelligence isn't about having it all figured out. It's about being committed to figuring it out. It's about taking control of your financial future, not outsourcing it to chance or circumstance. When you begin to study money like a craft, you step into a new level of responsibility. You stop being a victim of the system and start becoming a creator within it. That's when real power begins. That's when money stops controlling your life and starts serving your vision. Success isn't a result of a single massive decision or one lucky break. It's the sum of countless small behaviors repeated day after day, habits that build strength, clarity, and results over time. The people at the top, the ones who seem untouchable in their consistency and performance, aren't there by chance. They've trained themselves through habits. They've turned discipline into identity. While others are focused on motivation, they focus on mastery. And that's the real shortcut. Mastering your daily habits until winning becomes automatic. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. That means it's not about how inspired you feel when you wake up, it's about what actions are already built into your routine. High performers, the ones who seem unstoppable, don't leave their success up to chance. They design their days, they structure their time around what truly matters. Morning routines, evening rituals, planning, reflecting, executing. They've turned these into non-negotiables. And because of that, they don't just work hard, they work consistently. And consistency is the real flex. The rich, the successful, the fulfilled, they all know that the key to freedom is discipline. They don't chase intensity, they chase sustainability. They know one incredible day means nothing if it's followed by 6 unproductive ones. So they create habits that remove the need to decide. They don't rely on willpower. Willpower fades, but habits don't ask how you feel. They just get done. That's why habits are the secret weapon of those who win long-term. They make success automatic, not optional. It's also about self-respect. When you follow through on your habits, even when it's hard, you build trust with yourself. That inner trust is everything. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing if I say I'll do it, I'll do it. That's power, and it compounds. The same way money earns interest, your habits do too. One workout turns into energy. That energy helps you perform better at work. That performance creates new opportunities. 1 hour of reading each day becomes a mindset advantage that separates you from the crowd. One small financial decision made consistently becomes wealth over time. Most people underestimate what habits are really doing. They think brushing off a task today is no big deal, but everything counts. Every choice reinforces a story. Every repeated action becomes a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. And when your habits are aligned with your goals, you don't need to force results. They start chasing you. The magic isn't in doing something once. It's in becoming the kind of person who does it without fail. That's the kind of power habits give you. That's the real shortcut to the top. Most people wait for the perfect moment to feel confident. They think success is something that happens after they achieve results. But the truth is, you don't become successful and then act with certainty. You act with certainty before you're successful. That's what the rich and high performers do differently. They don't wait for permission. They don't wait for proof. They move forward as if the outcome is already inevitable. And that energy, calm, focused, and unshakable, creates a reality that matches their belief. Acting like the rich isn't about pretending or putting on a show. It's about carrying yourself with intentionality and confidence, even when the world hasn't caught up to your vision yet. It's about speaking, thinking, and moving from a place of strength, because you've already decided who you are becoming. You may not have the bank account, the recognition, or the accolades yet, but the mindset, the posture, the decisions, they can start now. They must start now. You train the world how to treat you by how you treat yourself. If you walk small, talk uncertainly, and act like you're still trying to prove your worth, then life will reflect that back to you. Courage doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from trusting yourself even when you don't. That's the key. The rich trust themselves to figure it out. They trust themselves to pivot, to learn, to grow through pressure. They don't collapse under fear. They rise with it. They use it as fuel. And the way you build that kind of trust is by taking action in the face of uncertainty. You move forward before the conditions are perfect. You make the call, you start the project, you step into the room, even if your knees are shaking, because confidence is built through action, not contemplation. You must understand, life responds to boldness. Opportunities move towards certainty. People are drawn to clarity and strength. If you're waiting to feel ready, you'll wait forever. No one wakes up suddenly fearless. What they do is decide. They choose to act as if they're ready until they are. That's not fake. It's faith. It's alignment. It's stepping into your future self and pulling it into your present reality. So you act like the rich, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you've already committed to becoming that version of yourself. You dress like it. You speak like it. You think like it, you take responsibility like it, not someday, today. And when you carry that energy long enough, the results start matching the mindset. The world starts treating you the way you treat yourself, because confidence isn't something you find, it's something you choose, and that choice made daily transforms everything.